The first shockwaves. It didn't start like in the movies, not with a dramatic reveal in a sterile office, at least not for me. It started subtly, then brutally. I remember a headache lingering before I went to sleep one night, nothing too alarming. But then I woke up in the darkest hours of the very early morning, maybe 4 or 5 a.m., engulfed by the most terrible headache I had ever imagined. It wasn't just pain, it was a draining, crushing pressure that stole all my energy. I remember trying to communicate, maybe to my spouse, but I couldn't even speak. The effort was too much. My hands had to do the talking, clumsy gestures, trying to convey the agony. Then, things blur. I think they gave me something in the ER, something that pulled me under a heavy, artificial sleep, because the next thing I knew, the clock suggested it was around 9 in the morning. Slowly, I surfaced into the confusing reality of the emergency room. Machines beeped a steady, unnerving rhythm around me. My body felt leaden with exhaustion, my mind thick with fog, but the sharpest edge of that terrible headache had thankfully eased. I felt utterly drained, half awake, my thoughts scattering like startled birds, everywhere and nowhere at once. Physically, I felt slightly less tortured than I had been at home, but the confusion was immense. What happened? Why am I here? It was in that state. Weak, confused, trying to piece together the last few hours lying in an ER bed with machines beeping, that the true storm began to gather. The doctors came, tests were being done, blood drawn, maybe scans. It's hard to recall the exact sequence through the haze. There were hushed conversations I couldn't quite follow, a sense of urgency I could feel but not comprehend. Through the fog, certain words, certain looks exchanged between the medical staff started to penetrate. The results from the initial tests were raising concerns. They suspected something serious, something wrong inside my head. A tumor, they might have said, or perhaps hinted at it carefully. Even as a suspicion, the word landed with a sickening thud in my stomach. A brain tumor. Me? The disbelief was overwhelming. A desperate refusal to accept this possibility emerging from the chaos of the morning. The decision was made quickly. I wasn't going home. I was admitted to the hospital right from the ER for more tests, more checks. That period felt suspended in time. The initial physical crisis had eased slightly, but now a new, terrifying mental and emotional one was building. Lying in a hospital bed, waiting for more scans, more results, the fear began to solidify. The suspicion voiced in the ER echoed constantly in my mind. The what-ifs started multiplying relentlessly. What if it was a tumor? What kind? What would happen to me? And eventually, after what felt like an eternity of tests and waiting, the confirmation came. The suspicion was correct. A brain tumor. Hearing it definitively didn't make it any more real initially. It still felt like a mistake, a terrible plot twist in someone else's life story. That ordinary life I was living just the day before? Utterly gone, replaced by this stark, terrifying new label attached to my name. The fear, which had been a growing dread since waking in the ER, now fully kicked down the door. It was that icy fist clenching inside, the breath catching in my throat. The same terrible questions started flooding my mind. Fear of what was physically happening inside my head. Fear of painful treatments to come. Fear of losing myself, my abilities. Fear of becoming a burden. Fear of leaving my loved ones to navigate this nightmare. Fear of time running out. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff in that foggy, uncertain future. All sense of control, already shaken by the physical crisis, now completely dissolved. My plans, my assumptions about my reliable body, my belief in a predictable life, all felt like naive fantasies. I was adrift, completely powerless, caught in a medical current I couldn't fight, heading towards shores I couldn't see. The feeling of free-falling returned, intense and terrifying. Life wasn't following my script anymore. It had ripped the script to shreds. And the loneliness? It felt different here, surrounded by the hushed efficiency of the hospital, yet perhaps even more profound. Machines beeped, nurses checked vitals, but I felt utterly alone inside the bubble of my own fear and diagnosis. Who could possibly grasp the specific terror of this moment, this reality crashing down on me? Yes, the shockwaves hit hard, maybe even harder, amidst the confusion and exhaustion of the ER. It was a brutal awakening from the ordinary. There was no energy left to pretend to be brave. There was only the raw impact, the fear, the confusion, the complete loss of ground beneath my feet. But even there, lying exhausted, scared and lost, my body did something automatic. It took another breath, and then another. A simple, involuntary rhythm starting the clock on day one of this entirely new, unwanted journey. The first shockwave is a single, deafening boom. It's the moment the world stops. But the aftershocks, they come in waves, each one different, each one unpredictable. They are the start of a new and difficult journey. Join me this coming Thursday as we begin riding the emotional roller coaster. If this story feels important, sharing it with someone who might need it would mean the world. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what comes next. And for the complete journey, you can always find the link to the full book in the description below.